If someone asked me what matters most in life, I'd answer without hesitation, love and stability. But I quickly realized that not everyone sees things the same way, and life rarely unfolds exactly as you expect. I'm 27, living in a stable relationship with my partner, an amazing woman who's 29. I trust that she'll walk with me into marriage, help build a family, and share all the plans we've dreamed about. We've been together for over 4 years, and the stability we've built is something I never fully appreciated until I experienced it. Then there's Chrissy. Chrissy has been my best friend since college. She's the same age as me, 27, but her life took a completely different path. I still remember the first time we met. 2 young women, full of naive optimism, big dreams, and ambition. Chrissy has always been cheerful, funny, and optimistic, but even in college, she was already in a serious relationship with her no-boyfriend, the guy she met at 20. It sounds romantic, even enviable. But after all these years, looking back, I can't help but feel a twinge of pity. A few of us friends often wondered, why hasn't Chrissy gotten engaged yet? Her boyfriend seemed smart, kind, and generous, but in the early years of their relationship, he was anything but stable. He jumped from one job to another: Walmart, then Target, then a handful of odd part-time gigs. He hadn't finished college and didn't graduate until 2019, only then landing a truly stable career. Chrissy never really explained why she kept waiting. She'd just say, "It's not the right time," usually smiling when I asked or changing the subject. And though I didn't fully understand, it hurt in a way I couldn't ignore. I couldn't imagine waiting for someone for years while life went on, while time marched forward, while opportunities slipped past. But Chrissy is different. Her patience is remarkable. Watching her, I saw someone willing to sacrifice career ambitions, stability, even personal dreams, just to nurture a love she believed in. I remember the coffee dates, the walks in the park, the times she would talk about wanting to marry, to have a family, to have children, all with the person she loved. Money and career were never central in those conversations, at least not like they are in our lives. Sometimes, when my fiancé and I discussed our future plans, I couldn't help but compare. We had stable careers, financial security, and were steadily building a life together. Life I felt confident would avoid sudden disruptions due to lack of preparation. But Chrissy, she was still standing by someone who wasn't fully mature, wasn't stable, and wasn't ready for marriage by my standards. At least our friend group often talked about it. We looked at Chrissy with a mix of pity and confusion. Once, a friend bluntly said, "She's going to regret this. There are opportunities she's letting pass. All for love." I couldn't deny the feeling. I wondered if Chrissy ever realized she might have given up the best years of her life, just waiting for someone not yet ready. Yet Chrissy remained unwavering. "He's the person I love, and I won't leave him just because he's not perfect yet. What matters is that we face challenges together," she would say. I'd often chuckle at that, but deep down, I had to admit Chrissy possesses an inner strength I'm not sure I could muster. Then, this year, what we'd all been waiting for finally happened. Chrissy got engaged. Not yesterday, not last week, but after 7 long years, a decisive turning point arrived. We received the invitation to her engagement party, a summer event, timed perfectly when everyone was less busy. And I knew that day would be memorable, not just for my friend's joy, but because I had a feeling it would challenge all my assumptions, all my judgments, and every emotion I'd carried. The day of the party, My heart felt a mix of anticipation and unease. I didn't want to admit it, but I braced myself to feel more pity than happiness. Chrissy always glowed, but I wondered, was that smile hiding regrets? I didn't want to believe it, yet my rational mind kept whispering, observe, judge, later. And that's why, when I walked into the sunlit room, seeing everyone gathered, seeing Chrissy in her crisp white dress, eyes sparkling with happiness, I felt a cocktail of emotions, joy, envy, pity, all at once. None of us could have predicted that just minutes later, a speech would turn every perspective, every judgment, every feeling completely upside down. And in that moment, as Chrissy's fiancé began to speak, the story of love, patience, and the years of youth spent waiting began to unfold. The day of the party, when I stepped into the room, everything was more dazzling than I'd imagined. Summer sunlight streamed through the large windows, reflecting off crystal glasses and making the room sparkle like a movie set. Everyone was dressed to the nines, laughing and chatting, the atmosphere buzzing with excitement. My fiancé and I entered, recognizing a few familiar faces, but my eyes kept searching for Chrissy. She stood near the center, in a delicate white dress, her hair softly curled, smiling with pure happiness, but there was a hint of unease under that radiant grin. Knowing all eyes were on her, I wondered if that smile was real joy, or just a mask for the years she had spent waiting. I didn't want to think that way, but I couldn't stop the nervous flutter in my chest. My fiancée placed her hand on my shoulder, furrowing her brow. He's going to say it all. Just get ready. I nodded, both anxious and uneasy, a tight knot rising from my chest to my throat. Finally, he appeared. Chrissy's fiancé stepped onto the small podium, smiling brightly, his eyes sparkling yet serious. The room fell silent. He grabbed the microphone, took a deep breath, and began. 7 years. 7 years of learning, growing, failing, and trying again. Chrissy, I know I wasn't always the man I should have been. For the first few years, I jumped from job to job, never really finding my footing. From Walmart to Target, and countless odd positions in between. I was lost. I didn't have my degree yet. I didn't know how to be what you deserved. I held my breath. Every word rang out, but instead of feeling the joy everyone else seemed to feel, I felt something else, a raw ache, an unmistakable pang of pity. My fiancée glanced at me, her eyes saying what I couldn't put into words. We both saw the truth, stark and undeniable, he continued. But Chrissy, you never gave up on me. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You grew with me. You supported me through every mistake, every setback. And for that, for your patience, your love, your unwavering belief, I am forever grateful. The room erupted with laughter and applause. All eyes were on Chrissy, filled with admiration. But I couldn't stop thinking, admiration for what, exactly? Waiting for someone immature for 7 years is something to be proud of. I noticed a few of my friends shifting uncomfortably. One shook her head quietly, murmuring, I just don't get it. 7 years, waiting for someone who wasn't ready. It's sad. I didn't want to admit it, but I agreed. I reminded myself that love is important, but stability is essential too. Our friend group exchanged looks, a mixture of sympathy and confusion. When the speech ended, Chrissy's eyes glistened with tears, but her smile was radiant. She held her fiancé's hand, her gaze full of trust and happiness. I had to admit it was a moving moment, yet it stirred a strange discomfort in me. She was happy, but at what cost? After the ceremony, we gathered in a corner, whispering among ourselves. She really spent her whole youth waiting for him, I said, my voice trembling slightly with a mix of anger and pity. Another friend frowned. I just don't get it. Why wait for someone not ready? There are plenty of other people out there who would love her. Chrissy overheard and turned around. What are you talking about? Her smile remained gentle, but her eyes were sharp, unwavering. I hesitated, then said, we just thought. You deserve more. Chrissy repeated softly but firmly. Are you saying I don't know my own worth? I love him, and that's enough. I don't care if he's unstable or imperfect. All I need is that he loves and values me. You only look at the surface. Stability, money, status. My heart raced. Her words were like a blade cutting through my thoughts, and I faltered. Chrissy turned, lifting her dress slightly as she walked toward the buffet, her eyes glowing with a pride I couldn't deny. I looked at my fiancé, who remained silent, her gaze contemplative. That night wasn't just a party, it was an emotional confrontation. We witnessed and couldn't help but question ourselves, our beliefs, and how we define happiness. Deep down, I felt proud of our long friendship, but also wondered, was Chrissy truly happy? Or had she been patiently waiting because she didn't yet know her own worth? At the end of the night, as everyone was leaving, Chrissy approached me, smiling softly. Thank you for always caring. I know you see things differently, but I am truly happy. I chose my path, and I have no regrets. I nodded, forcing a smile, though a quiet, unnameable unease lingered in my chest. That night, lying in bed, I realized something clearly. Love and reason never fully align. Chrissy and her fiancé share a steadfast love, but their career paths and stability aren't what we would have chosen, and I had to ask myself, do we really understand the value of love, or are we just imposing our practical standards onto others? After Chrissy's fiancé finished his speech, the party continued with laughter and chatter, but for me, an uneasy feeling lingered. My fiancé and I slipped to a quiet corner near the desert table, where the light was softer, hoping to talk about what had just happened. Before I could speak, Chrissy appeared. Her gaze met mine, her smile gentle, but I sensed an unusual determination in her eyes. Are you guys okay? She asked, her voice carrying an edge I hadn't heard before. My heart raced. This was no longer just a happy celebration. This was a moment where perspectives would clash directly. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, though a tight frustration gripped me. Chrissy, we're just genuinely worried about you. 7 years. 7 years waiting for him with no guarantee of what would happen. Do you really think giving up your youth for someone who wasn't ready is something to be proud of? Chrissy furrowed her brow, fixing me with a steady gaze. Her voice was calm but powerful. I know you see things differently, but I chose my path. I love him, and I have no regrets. Patience, love, and companionship are what I value more than anything else. I bit my lip, anger and confusion mingling. I had never argued so intensely with my best friend. But reason wouldn't let go. But Chrissy, look at it objectively. He's unstable, jumps from job to job, hasn't completed his education. If you had chosen someone else, someone stable, Metro U could have built your life earlier without waiting until nearly 30 to get engaged. This is a waste of your youth. Chrissy paused for a second, then smiled. Her voice was calm, sharp. You call it a waste. I call it a choice. I don't marry for money or stability. I marry for love, for someone who values my feelings, who can walk with me through every difficulty. If you think I'm wasting my time, maybe you don't truly understand what love is. A few friends standing nearby exchanged helpless glances. I felt a surge of anger. I couldn't sit quietly. Chrissy, we're not saying this to criticize you. But the fact is, love can't guarantee everything. You're risking your youth, your career, and the chance at a stable life, hoping love will be enough. And if it isn't, who takes responsibility? Her stance didn't waver. She stood tall, eyes full of confidence. You speak as if love is secondary, but I live with my feelings, not with other people's worries. I love him, and we've faced many tough years together. If you can't see the value in that, that's your problem, not mine. A beat passed, and my chest felt tight. I was angry and confused. How could Chrissy see things so differently and remain so calm? I tried to regain my composure, but you also have the right to happiness. But is that happiness truly worth it if you have to wait? If you have to sacrifice stability? What if you met someone else, someone truly stable, ready for the future? Chrissy smiled, not sarcastically, but with unwavering resolve. You're telling me I should choose someone just for money, career, or stability? Love isn't a math equation. I know my worth and what I want. I don't need anyone else to decide my happiness. A storm of inner conflict raged within me. Part of me wanted to explain, to persuade, but another part realized Chrissy would never change at least not for me or our friends. She had chosen her path, and I had to respect that. Yet my reason kept shouting, she's risking too much. My fiancé gently placed a hand on my shoulder. Sometimes people have a different view of happiness. Just understand, don't try to convince. I knew she was right, but the feeling of pity lingered. I looked at Chrissy, her eyes still bright, full of trust, and I realized this was a moment that tested both our friendship and my beliefs. Our friends remained silent, a few shaking their heads. No one wanted to intervene, yet the tension was palpable. We, watching from the outside, saw Chrissy's determination and the love she had for her. Fiancé love that left us both admiring and unsettled. After a moment, Chrissy spoke gently. I don't blame you for not understanding. I know you care, but I will live with my choice. I trust that our love and companionship will be enough to overcome any difficulty. I don't need your approval or admiration. I just want you to understand. Her words echoed in my mind like a wake-up call. Love doesn't always align with reason, and the heart's patience can surpass all calculations. I knew I had confronted her, but also knew no explanation could change Chrissy's choice. As the party wound down, I stood in a corner, watching Chrissy and her fiancé laugh together, hand in hand. I realized that no matter what I thought, they had their own happiness, and that was undeniable. Yet a part of me still wondered, was it worth 7 years of waiting and all that she had sacrificed? I knew this would be a night I wouldn't forget, not for joy, but for the whirlwind of emotions, inner conflict, and the clash of philosophies I had never faced before. After the intense argument at the party, I retreated to a corner, gripping my glass tightly, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. I watched Chrissy and her fiancé standing close together, eyes full of trust and happiness. Part of me felt jealous of her certainty, her absolute confidence. But another part of me felt pangs of sorrow, wondering if all 7 years of waiting had truly been worth it. Chrissy stepped toward me, her voice gentle yet firm. "Don't you understand yet? I chose my path, and I am happy. He is the person I love, my companion through many difficult years. That alone is enough for me." I took a deep breath, trying to control my emotions. But the flood of feelings rising inside me nearly overwhelmed my composure. "Chrissy, I'm not saying this to make you upset, but look at it. 7 years. 7 years of youth, career, opportunities, spent waiting for someone unstable. He hasn't matured, jumps jobs constantly, and didn't even complete his education in the early years of your relationship. Do you really think love can make up for all of that?" Chrissy was silent for a second. Then her eyes glimmered as she spoke. "You think you're standing on the right side, but you've never seen things through my eyes. I know my worth and what I want. He's not perfect, but he always values me. We've overcome every difficulty together, and I've never regretted it." Looking into her eyes, I realized that I had to face the truth. Chrissy's love was strong enough to surpass all the logic and calculations I was imposing. Yet a part of me still screamed in protest. "But you have to understand that love doesn't pay bills, doesn't settle debts, and doesn't guarantee the future. If you married someone else, someone stable, you could have built your career, saved money, had an easier life. Why risk your youth?" Chrissy took a deep breath, her voice sharper now, filled with emotion. "You're telling me I should choose someone else just because they're more stable, wealthier, or have a better career? I've lived by those standards before, but I realize that money and stability cannot replace love, companionship, or mutual respect. You may see it as reckless, but it's my choice, and I am happy with it." I felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger, pity, jealousy, and a hint of admiration. We stood facing each other to completely opposing perspectives, and I realized that no words could change Chrissy, just as she couldn't fully grasp my reasoning. But the real climax came when Chrissy began recounting their difficult years. She spoke of him, of the months of unstable jobs, the uncertainty, sleepless nights worrying about rent, and how they both overcame every challenge together. I listened, each detail making me pause. What I had considered wasting her youth turned out to be experiences that built character, patience, and enduring love. She continued, "He's not perfect, but he always tries. I've seen him fail, and I've also seen him rise. We've grown together. If you think waiting is a waste, then you misunderstand what true love is. I know what I want, and I've found it in him." Every word of Chrissy's felt like an electric shock through my mind. I realized that everything I had seen as reasons to pity her were actually the building blocks of a deep relationship I had never experienced. Part of me felt ashamed for judging, but another part still resisted. I couldn't shake the discomfort of thinking about the years she had missed out on. My fiancée placed her hand on my shoulder again, gently. "See, not everyone finds happiness the way you think. Chrissy's happiness is her choice, and she fought for it." I took a long breath, realizing this was a lesson I had to learn. I cannot impose my perspective on others, nor judge their happiness by what I deem right. Chrissy is happy, and that is undeniable. As the party ended, we left. Chrissy held her fiancé's hand, smiling brightly. I stood there, overwhelmed by mixed emotions, pity, admiration, and lingering uncertainty. I realized that life doesn't always follow a rational formula. and love sometimes transcends all barriers and calculations. That night, lying in bed with moonlight streaming through the window, my mind still spun. I thought about patience, growth, and the choices each person must take responsibility for. I recognized that while I live by reason and stability, Chrissy lives by emotion and absolute trust. Both approaches have value. Both have reasons to find happiness. At the same time, I knew this story would stay with me for a long time. It's not just about Chrissy or her love, it's a lesson about differing perspectives, accepting differences, and learning to respect others' choices, even when you don't agree. The morning after the engagement party, the house felt quieter than usual. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, the chatter of friends at all lingered in my mind like a faint echo. Sitting on the sofa with a steaming cup of coffee in my hands, I stared out the window, watching the summer sunlight drift lazily through the leaves, casting dancing patterns of light across the wooden floor. The calm outside felt in stark contrast to the turmoil still simmering in my chest. Chrissy's words from the night before, so full of conviction, so unwavering, kept replaying in my mind. Words I had wanted to argue against, but couldn't. No matter how hard I tried, I whispered to myself, maybe I've been too harsh. Maybe love can't be measured by logic or reason alone. A mix of relief and unease spread through me. Part of me still thought about the 7 years she had spent waiting, the chances she may have missed, the opportunities she might have let slip through her fingers. But another part of me, the quieter part, knew I couldn't deny the authenticity of her emotions. Chrissy's love was real. Her patience was real. And most importantly, her happiness was real, that was worth more than any calculations about stability or security. My fiancée came over and placed her hand gently on my shoulder. Her smile was warm, calm, and somehow grounding. See, everyone has their own way of living, she said softly. Their happiness doesn't have to match yours. What matters is that they chose it and they're loved. I nodded, feeling a sense of calm slowly replace the chaos in my chest. I realized that all the arguments, all the conflicting emotions, all the mental wrestling I'd gone through in the past days had brought me to one simple truth: understanding and accepting differences. Not everyone finds happiness according to the same standards, and not every love story follows a logical formula. Over the next several days, I found myself thinking about Chrissy and her fiancé constantly. I thought about the years they had weathered together, the challenges they had faced, the patience they had cultivated, the ways they had grown as individuals and as a couple. I felt a deep respect stirring within me, an acknowledgement of something I had never experienced so fully. I began to understand that love and stability don't always go hand in hand, that the true value of a relationship isn't measured solely by money, career, or social standing, but by companionship, trust, shared growth, and genuine emotional connection. Even among our friend group, things began to shift. The subtle pitying looks and whispered judgments faded. They were replaced by a quiet understanding, a new respect for choices that may differ from our own. Slowly, we realized that Chrissy's happiness was a deliberate choice, one constructed from love, patience, and unwavering trust. The more I observed, the more I understood that her joy was earned, not handed to her by circumstance. One evening, sitting beside my fiancée in the soft glow of our living room lamp, I found myself smiling more freely than I had in days. The weight of judgment, both toward Chrissy and myself, had lifted slightly. We talked about the future, our goals, our plans, our hopes, and for the first time in a while, I felt the quiet thrill of possibility, untainted by overthinking. Yet, I also realized that Chrissy's story had taught me a far deeper lesson. Life isn't always something you can calculate. Happiness isn't always rational, and love, in its truest form, often defies logic. That evening, Chrissy called. Her voice, as always, was warm, energetic, and filled with a sincerity that made the distance between us feel irrelevant. "Thank you for listening, and thank you for caring," she said. "I know you all have different perspectives, but I'm happy with my choice. I hope everyone finds their own happiness too." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest that went beyond friendship. "Me too, Chrissy," I replied. "I've learned a lot from you. I truly believe that everyone's happiness deserves respect, no matter which path they take." Over time, I realized that friendship and love, though not always aligned with reason, each carry their own profound value. Chrissy chose love, I chose stability, and both choices were valid, deserving of respect. I learned to accept others' decisions without judgment, to avoid imposing my logic on someone else's heart, and most importantly, to appreciate love and friendship in all their forms. As I looked out the window that night, the moon casting a soft silver glow over the quiet street, I felt a sense of peace I had rarely known. Chrissy's 7-year wait was no longer something to pity, it was a testament to the power of love and the strength of patience. I knew that life would continue, that each of us would walk our own path, but that genuine love and deep, enduring friendship would always remain untouchable. And in that moment, I understood happiness doesn't always follow reason, but when you live fully with your choices, it becomes the most beautiful thing of all. I embraced the differences, treasured friendship, and accepted that everyone has their own path to happiness. The engagement party had come and gone, but its echoes still lingered in my mind. The intense arguments with Chrissy left me not only confused, but also questioning myself about friendship, about my perspective on love, and about how I viewed life choices. The next morning, my fiancée and I sat in the living room, morning light filtering softly through the curtains, casting faint streaks across the wooden floor. I took a sip of coffee, the heaviness in my chest still lingering. She looked at me, her gaze gentle but serious. "You're still thinking about last night, aren't you?" I nodded, struggling to find the words. "Yeah. I don't really get it. I feel admiration, frustration, even pity. I don't know what I'm feeling." She smiled and placed her hand on my shoulder. "That's because you haven't fully accepted the differences. Chrissy lives her life her way, and she's happy. You live your life your way, and you're happy too. There's no absolute right or wrong." I sighed, realizing she was right. Everyone's perspective on love and life is different, and it can't be forced onto someone else. Yet, there was still a part of me that struggled. I still felt a twinge of pity for Chrissy, even though she was genuinely happy. Over the following days, I ran into some mutual friends, and the engagement party quickly became the main topic of conversation. A few of them shared feelings similar to mine: admiration for Chrissy's patience and enduring love, mixed with confusion over why anyone would dedicate so much of their youth to waiting. One friend said bluntly, "I could never wait like that. If it were me, I would have walked away a long time ago." I understood their perspective, but I also realized that everyone has their own outlook, and no one has the right to judge another person's choices. Chrissy's story was a clear example. Love doesn't always follow reason, and patience can sometimes be the very thing that strengthens a relationship. One evening, I decided to call Chrissy. Her voice was warm, but carried its usual sharpness. "Hey, I guess you're still thinking about last night." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Yeah, I just wanted to say, I get it better now. I understand that your love is strong enough to overcome any challenge, and that you're happy with your choice. I'm sorry if I was too harsh before." Chrissy laughed softly, her voice gentle. "Thank you. I know you care, and I appreciate that. It's just, everyone sees things differently. You and I live with our own choices, and both of us have reasons to be happy." The conversation ended, but a strange sense of relief settled over me. I realized that conflicts aren't always negative. They help us understand ourselves, what we truly value, and how to respect others' choices. In the weeks that followed, I watched Chrissy and her fiancé through social media and a few small, in-person gatherings. They were still happy, still supportive of each other, and untouched by outside judgment. Watching them, I realized that true happiness can't be measured by time or stability. It's measured by emotions, trust, and unwavering companionship. I also began to question myself. Was I imposing logic on my own relationship? Or was I truly living it through genuine feeling? These reflections made me reconsider my relationship with my fiancé. I realized that our love has its own value, but the way we experience happiness is different from Chrissy's. This understanding taught me to respect both my own choices and those of others. One day, sitting quietly and reflecting on the entire event, I wrote in my journal, "Life doesn't always go the way we want. Love, career, stability, they all matter, but no one has the right to decide how someone else should be happy. Chrissy chose her path, I chose mine. Both have their own value. That's the greatest lesson I've learned from this engagement party." I closed the journal, feeling a sense of calm. Life goes on, each person walks their own path. But it's the experiences, the conflicts, and the messy emotions that make life rich and meaningful. Finally, I understood something important. Love doesn't always need to be rational or easy. But if you live fully with your own choices, happiness will always exist in some form. With that thought, I knew I had grown, gaining a deeper understanding of love, friendship, and the value of differences. After the engagement party, life continued as usual, but something inside me had shifted. In the first few days, I found myself wrestling with questions I hadn't considered before. Was my perspective on Chrissy and her relationship fair? Was I truly understanding what her happiness meant? Slowly, I realized that this wasn't just about love or stability, it was about life philosophies, values, and the way each person chooses to live their life and define their own happiness. My fiancé and I began spending more time in quiet conversations, not just about our future together, but about the lingering emotions the party had left behind. We would sit on the sofa, holding hands, looking out the window as the morning sun filtered through the leaves, creating sparkling patches of light on the wooden floor. She looked at me softly and asked, "Have you learned anything from the party?" I smiled, a lightness settling in my chest for the first time in days. "I think I've learned that love isn't just about logic or reasoning. It's about feelings, patience, and companionship. Chrissy is happy, and that matters more than any calculation of stability or timing. We talked more about how we each viewed happiness. My fiancée shared moments of worry about the future, but she also explained how love and mutual trust helped guide her through uncertainty. Listening to her, I felt my heart warm. Conversations like these didn't just strengthen our relationship, they helped me understand the importance of respecting other people's choices and perspectives. Our friends, too, had varied reactions after the event. Some still couldn't understand why Chrissy had waited 7 years. But gradually, they began to recognize that everyone lives life differently, and no one can impose their own definition of happiness on someone else. One afternoon, we gathered at our usual coffee shop, sipping lattes and talking about life and love. One friend admitted, "I don't know if I could ever do what Chrissy did, but I get her a little more now. Love doesn't always follow logic, and she chose to live according to her feelings. That's something to admire." I nodded, feeling a sense of relief and clarity. I realized that the drama and conflict from before weren't necessarily negative, they were opportunities. They were chances to examine our own values, to accept differences, and to appreciate love in its own way. One day, I decided to call Chrissy. Her voice was as warm and lively as ever. "Hey, are you doing okay?" I smiled and spoke gently. "Yeah. I just wanted to say that I've learned a lot. I understand that your happiness is your own choice, and I respect that." Chrissy laughed softly. "Thank you. I really value our friendship too. We can have different perspectives, but that doesn't diminish what we have." The conversation ended, but the sense of peace and growing awareness it left lingered. I realized that conflict isn't always destructive. Sometimes it helps us better understand ourselves, what truly matters, and how to honor other people's choices. In the following weeks, I kept an eye on Chrissy and her fiancés through social media updates and occasional small meets. They were happy, still closely connected, unaffected by outside judgments. Watching them, I came to understand that true happiness isn't measured by time or stability, it's measured by trust, companionship, and shared experiences at the same time. I reflected on my own relationship with my fiancée. We were learning to communicate, to share our feelings, and to support one another. I realized that even though we valued stability and reason, love still played an essential role. The experiences I'd witnessed helped me appreciate my fiancée more, understand her better, and strengthen our bond. One evening, as I sat by the window writing in my journal, moonlight streaming across the pages, I wrote, "Life doesn't always go the way we want. Love, career, stability, they're all important, but no one has the right to decide how another person finds happiness. Chrissy chose her path, I chose mine, and both paths have value." That is the biggest lesson I learned from this engagement party. I closed my journal, feeling a profound sense of calm. I understood that love and personal growth don't always align with logic, but when we live fully with our choices, happiness endures. I also knew that respecting others' choices and values was the most important lesson of all. Looking out the window, the moon casting a soft glow over the quiet street, I felt an unparalleled sense of peace. Chrissy's story was no longer something to pity, it was a testament to the power of love and the strength of patience. I smiled, knowing that life would go on, each person walking their own path, but that true love and deep friendship would always remain untouchable. In the weeks following the engagement party, I started spending more time reflecting on myself, not just about love, but about life's values, priorities, and the decisions I make. I realized that the arguments with Chrissy didn't just teach me about her love. They also mirrored how I viewed my own life and relationships. One morning, I woke up early and sat on the balcony, looking out over the city still wrapped in sleep. The air was crisp and fresh, and the first rays of sunlight gently touched the streets, making everything shimmer as if covered in a thin layer of gold. Holding my coffee, I breathed deeply, letting the calm spread through me. For the first time, I asked myself a real question. What am I living for? Am I truly happy? My fiancée came out, placed her hand on my shoulder, and looked into my eyes. You're thinking about the party, aren't you? I nodded, feeling the tension and chaos of the past days slowly fade. Yeah. I think I was seeing Chrissy the wrong way. I saw her as someone wasting her youth, but she's actually happy. And that makes me wonder, have I been fully living my own happiness? She smiled gently. You and I are living our choices. We have stability, love, and partnership. But the important thing is that you've realized happiness doesn't have to look the same for everyone. Her words were like a light turning on in my mind. I began to understand that the value of happiness isn't measured by someone else's standards, measured by personal experience, by feeling fulfilled with the choices we make. Thinking of Chrissy, I realized this. She chose a partner who wasn't fully stable, embraced challenges, accepted risks, but in return gained a deep, enduring love and real happiness. Comparing that to myself, I chose stability, reason, and a clear plan, but I also realized that both ways of living have their own value, and no one has the right to judge another. One afternoon, I called Chrissy. Her voice was warm and lively as always. You okay? You've been quiet for a while. I smiled, my tone soft but sincere. Yeah. I just wanted to say, I get it now. I misjudged you before, but I see that your choices are true to your happiness. I admire the patience and love that you and your fiancé have built. Chrissy laughed, her eyes bright. Thank you. I know you care, and I appreciate it. But now I just want to live happily with my choices. What have you learned from everything that's happened? I took a deep breath, looking out the window. I've learned that happiness doesn't always follow logic or stability. It's about experience, about feeling, about companionship. I've also learned to respect other people's choices and to appreciate what I have. In the following weeks, I gradually felt more at peace. I watched Chrissy and her fiancé. They were still happy, strong together, unaffected by outside opinions. Seeing them, I realized that the strength of love isn't in perfection or logic, it's in partnership and mutual respect. I also looked closer at my relationship with my fiancé. We talked more, shared more deeply, and learned to understand and support each other through everything. I realized that although our choices differ from Chrissy's, both paths hold value and both deserve their own happiness. One evening, sitting and writing in my journal, I recorded my thoughts. Life doesn't always follow logic. Love isn't measured by time or stability. The value of happiness lies in experience and choice. I've learned to recognize, respect, and cherish other people's choices as well as my own. And that is the greatest lesson I've gained from the engagement party and Chrissy's story. The moonlight filtered softly through the window, gentle and calming. I smiled, feeling at peace. Life goes on, each person walking their own path. But love, companionship, and the ability to accept differences will always remain most important. I realized that growing up isn't just about stability or reason, it's about understanding, forgiving, and valuing what you have and the choices of others. That day, I decided to visit Chrissy and her fiance. I didn't make an appointment. I just wanted to see things for myself, confront the truth that she was happy, and learn to fully accept it. As I stepped into their cozy little home, a sense of calm washed over me. Laughter echoed from the living room, and soft sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating simple yet meaningful objects around them. Chrissy opened the door, her face radiant and full of joy. She hugged me warmly. "You're here. I knew you'd come. Are you okay?" I smiled, feeling a mix of nervousness and relief. "Yeah, I just wanted to see everything with my own eyes and tell you, I completely understand and respect your choice." Chrissy held my hand, her eyes shining. "I know you've been through a lot of emotions, but how do you feel now?" I looked around the room, taking in the sight of them together, the memories they had built over the years. I realized that everything I had once thought of as wasted time or effort on Chrissy's part had actually laid the foundation for a deep, enduring love. I said, "Before, I thought you were waiting too long. I thought you were wasting your youth. But now I see it all makes sense. Your love is strong, and you deserve it." Chrissy smiled, her eyes glistening. "Thank you. I know you care, and that makes me happy. But now I see. You understand that love isn't always rational, and sometimes patience is what gives a relationship its true value." Her fiancé stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder with sincerity. "I know you had doubts at first, but I want you to know that I've always tried to be worthy of Chrissy's love. Those challenging years made me grow, and I understand now that nothing is more valuable than trust and walking through life together." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of completeness. I understood that true love doesn't need to be perfect. It requires companionship, trust, and mutual respect. Seeing it with my own eyes, feeling it with my heart, I realized this was a relationship worthy of admiration, with no need for pity. After our conversation, I sat back and observed them. They laughed, shared stories, and talked about future plans. A wave of calm washed over me. I realized that my inner climax was no longer about arguments or frustration. It was a profound recognition of the value of love and genuine happiness. That evening, back at home, I wrote in my journal. For the first time, I didn't just write about my feelings, but also about the life lesson Chrissy had taught me. Happiness isn't measured by logic, stability, or age. It's measured by emotions, companionship, and the ability to honor both your choices and those of others. I've learned to accept, to love without judgment, and to grow through the experiences of my friend. In the following weeks, I realized something important. Acknowledging the happiness and values of others also helps me grow. I no longer felt pity or frustration. Instead, I felt admiration and respect. I began looking at my relationship with my fiancé with deeper appreciation, cherishing every moment, understanding each other's emotions, and learning to support one another through every challenge. One afternoon, I went for a solo walk in the park. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, sunlight filtered softly onto the path, and I took a deep breath, fully aware that inner peace had returned. I no longer compared or judged, I only felt understanding and gratitude in that moment. I realized that true growth isn't about control or imposition, but about acceptance, forgiveness, and appreciation. I learned to respect my own choices and the choices of others, even when perspectives differ. Looking back at all the conflicts, arguments, and chaotic emotions of the past, I smiled. Every experience, whether tense or painful, had been a stepping stone to becoming more insightful, more understanding, and more appreciative of love and friendship. I realized Chrissy's story wasn't just about her or her fiancé. It was a lesson in patience, maturity, and the value of genuine love. That night, moonlight streamed through the window, and my steady breathing matched my heartbeat. I knew life would go on, everyone following their own paths, but love, companionship, and the ability to honor differences would always remain the most precious things. I smiled, completely at peace. The climax of my inner journey had ended in profound understanding and true growth. That night, I sat by the bedroom window, staring at the rain-soaked yard. Each raindrop glittered in the dim glow of the streetlights, like tiny fragments of memory reflecting the whirlwind of the past few weeks. Every chaotic emotion, every argument, every internal conflict gradually faded, giving way to a profound sense of peace that seemed to fill every corner of my being. I closed my eyes and let my mind wander back to Chrissy and her fiancés, the engagement party, the debates, the fleeting moments of frustration, pity, and even envy I had felt. Now, in the quiet of that rainy night, I saw everything differently. True love, I realized, isn't measured by logic or time, it's measured by patience, companionship, and mutual respect. A soft knock pulled me out of my reverie. My fiancée entered the room, a quiet warmth radiating from her presence. She sat beside me, gently placing her hand over mine. Her eyes, calm and affectionate, met mine. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. I opened my eyes and looked at her, a soft smile on my lips. "I'm thinking about everything. Chrissy, myself, us, and I feel at peace. I've realized that happiness doesn't always follow logic, and what truly matters is living fully with the choices we make. I am happy, and we are happy." She leaned her head on my shoulder. No words were needed. We sat there together in silence, listening to the rhythmic sound of rain on the roof, feeling each other's heartbeat. In that moment, I understood that peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the ability to accept, understand, and cherish everything we have. The following days were gentle, reflective. I looked at my friendships with new clarity. Arguments faded into understanding, judgments softened into acceptance, and pity turned into respect. We all learned to honor each other's choices, embrace our differences, and appreciate the unique value each person brought into our lives. During a quiet afternoon at a cafe, a friend remarked, "I think I finally understand. It's not about waiting or rushing, it's about commitment and respect for someone's choices." I nodded, feeling a sense of validation, recognizing that the conflicts we had endured weren't wasted. They were lessons in empathy, patience, and perspective. One evening, I received a text from Chrissy. "Thank you for understanding and respecting my choices. Our friendship means the world to me. I hope you and your fiancé are always happy." I smiled and typed back, "Thank you. I treasure this friendship too. We all deserve to live according to our own choices, and to find happiness on our own terms." I reflected on how much I had grown through these experiences. Every intense emotion, every internal struggle, had taught me something valuable. From the engagement party, I had learned that love doesn't need to be flawless. It requires trust, respect, and shared journeys. Happiness isn't a matter of logic or timing. It's found in emotion, in connection, in fully embracing the choices we make. True maturity isn't about stability or reason alone, it's about understanding, forgiving, and appreciating life and relationships, both ours and others. I watched the rain fall through the window, each droplet reflecting the lights of the city like tiny mirrors of memory. I felt a profound calm settle over me. Life would continue, each of us on our own path. But love, companionship, and the ability to honor differences would remain the most precious aspects of existence. I hugged my fiancée tightly, feeling the warmth of her presence and the steady rhythm of her heart. Together, we had faced challenges, learned to understand each other deeply, and cultivated a love that was resilient and nurturing. No matter what the future held, we were prepared to move forward, grounded in trust, understanding, and shared happiness. I thought back to all the arguments, frustrations, moments of pity, and the eventual clarity and peace. Each of these experiences had been a stepping stone, guiding me to a deeper understanding of love, friendship, and human connection. Chrissy's journey wasn't just about her or her fiancé. It was a living lesson in patience, growth, and the enduring value of genuine love. That night, the moonlight streamed through the window. The soft rhythm of our breaths matched the gentle patter of the rain. I knew that life would move forward, each person following their own path, but love, companionship, and the capacity to honor differences would always remain the most precious things. I smiled, a deep and lasting smile, feeling complete peace. The inner climax of my emotional journey had resolved into true understanding and maturity. I realized that regardless of what the future might hold, we had learned to love intentionally, to walk together consciously, and to respect both our own choices and those of others. That, I understood, is the ultimate value of life. Peace was no longer an illusion, it was an inner experience, a profound culmination of this emotional journey, opening the door 2 days ahead filled with love, happiness, and growth. And as I held my fiancée close, listening to the rain, I felt a deep certainty. No matter what life brings, we had discovered the strength to love fully, accompany faithfully, and honor choices genuinely. This was the true closure, the gentle, enduring peace that follows understanding, acceptance, and growth.